Welcome everybody to some more BSL action. This time around, I'm back with Mr. Seriosity. And we had some epic games yesterday. Actually, Ziki taking down Bonnet, moving into the semifinals, and then Mihu also moving into the semifinals. But now we've got NA versus EU. As you can see, our first matchup of the day is Captain America versus Batman. And Seriosity was filling me in on the origins of the Batman meme with Dewalt here.
Yeah, so basically Dewalt's laddering on his stream and he's playing some Korean. The Korean asks him who he is, and Dewalt just types Batman, just as a joke. Then Shoop, who's always watching all the Protoss streams, immediately starts working on something. And within 20-30 minutes, he posts an emote, and it's Dewalt as Batman, and Dewalt liked it enough that he kept it on his one of his Twitch emotes. So, I mean, pretty funny how it works out that Zero ended up putting Dewalt as Batman, not knowing the story, but that's how it just coincides.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're not going to see Batman versus Superman, Bonnet, because he was eliminated yesterday, but we still have Captain America, we still got the Flash in the next matchup, and then we've got Spider-Man too, Oya. And Oya, he got third last season, right? Like, he keeps going up and up in the placements of the BSL, so maybe it's his time to finally make it to the finals. But everybody that's been watching Gypsy lately knows this guy's no joke. He's upped his skill quite a bit, so the second matchup is definitely going to be one to definitely tune into. But our first matchup is, of course, Dewalt versus Hawk, which is also going to be amazing. Seriously, what are your thoughts on Dewalt versus Hawk that we're about to see?
Well, Dewalt, I think Dewalt, outside of Bonif, is probably the most consistent player now. He's always in the finals of tours, semifinals, and if there's a small tour anywhere, he's gonna play in it and he's gonna win it. So Dewalt has the experience, he has the skill, and I think he's a very strong player just overall, but especially in this matchup. That being said, I think Hawk also is excellent in ZVP. So Hawk has a puncher's chance, a bit of an underdog, I would say, definitely, but ZVP with a decent map pool for Zerg, I think Hawk has it should be interesting what Hawk pulls out, like what strategies he's going to utilize, or if he's just going to go for the mass H strategy, that also works.
The mass H? Is that what you call it? The mass Hydra? mass Hydra build? Yeah, I mean, just from an outsider's perspective, I feel like this is Dewalt's, like, his runway's clear. Every season he runs into Bonnet, and this time around Bonnet's already gone. So is his runway clear all the way to the finals? I mean, he's got a tough bracket to go through, but it just seems like his kryptonite has already been eliminated. So I'm really liking Dewalt's chances to not just win the semifinals here, but also go the distance potentially finally to the finals. I'm trying to look at the history here of what happened to Dewalt last season. Yeah, he did end up losing in the round of 16. He lost to he lost to Jaeyoon, and he lost to Gornich. And I remember that game versus Jaeyoon. Jaeyoon was hyper aggressive, and even though I don't think Hawk is like the hyper aggressive type with wings, I know he's quite aggressive with like 973 type plays. I think that's correct, right?
Yeah, Hawk really likes to abuse Hydralisk, utilizing micro with the Hydralisk just to outscale any number of Zealots, and if you can dodge storm effectively, it's pretty effective, especially on some of these maps. And we did see Hawk actually beat Bonif on Aztec in the Continental Wars earlier, I guess last month. So Hawk does have a very high skill level in this matchup. And yeah, I want to add just one little note. I was actually looking up Dewalt. Like, Dewalt hasn't won BSL. The farthest he got was actually in BSL. Actually, he did win BSL13, but that's like 4 years ago. But yeah, BSL10, where he actually went up against Bonif in the finals. Then I looked up Dewalt versus Bonif specifically, and in 2021, they played over 10 matches that are just best of 3 or more, and Dewalt hasn't won a single one. So definitely something to be said, maybe somewhat of a kryptonite to Dewalt, because other than Bonif, I don't see Dewalt basically lose ever in these tournaments. Last season, of course, was Jaeyoon, that was the best of 1, so anything can happen there. But yeah, Dewalt versus Hawk. Hawk also This is at least his second round of 8 in BSL. So one of the strongest performers from NA going up against Dewalt. I mean, it's gonna be tough.
Yeah, I would put Dewalt versus anybody in the foreign scene and consider him a favorite other than Bonnet, as you mentioned. Like, as I stated, there's just something happens to Dewalt where he just can't take Bonnet down for whatever reason. But with him gone, I think this could finally be the season. Yeah, I've been calling it Dewalt's season for like 6 seasons now, but maybe finally this is the one. But he's gonna have to get through a very tough NA player in Hawk, and as you mentioned, Hawk has made it into the round of 8. This will be his second time making it there, and you know, among the NA Zergs, he's up there as a top Zerg. Like, you think of top Zergs, Crossy, Striker is now at the top, Jaeyoon, Hawk. I mean, they're all contending for #1 NA Zerg player. So if there's any Zerg from NA that can take down Dewalt, I mean, Hawk has got as good of a chance as anyone.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Although it's still like Dewalt has something in PvZ where he basically just doesn't die in the early game. Jaeyoon game aside. So it's gonna be Hawk having to help play him in the mid to late game, and that's where Dewalt, I think, shines. And our first map is actually gonna be Ascension, and this is just a wonderful map to start the series off. Very nice map for both these races, to be honest. Just one of the better new maps.
Yeah, you can see the statistics for ZVP, 48%, so pretty balanced. And with that said, let's get into game 1 of our series. It's going to be Dewalt versus Hawk. First map is going to be Ascension. Okay, in the mid left, sporting that magenta color, it is none other than Dewalt.
And in the bottom right, in the red, we have Hawk.
Right, so I'm pretty sure that I heard in the initial stages or the initial plays of Ascension, people were thinking that, okay, this is a good Zerg map. But as more and more people have played it, Protoss seems to be pretty strong on that map. Like, is that what you're also thinking here?
Yeah, I think it's one of the things where Protoss is very comfortable on this map because every expansion has gas, and there's no expansion that has like reduced mineral patches. So when you have a map like this where Protoss doesn't have to expand a ton to get a lot of gas, it makes it pretty easy for Protoss to get that late game or mid game army with a ton of gas units, Dragoon, Templar, and then eventually mix in Archons. And you can see most of the bases Protoss will take are on the like rim of the map, makes it harder for Zerg to attack into them. So a lot of features on this map are favorable for Protoss, including just like from the beginning, the 10th patch in the mineral. That's always something that's going to be somewhat of a buff to Protoss in this matchup. And here we have Hawk, who's actually going to go for an 11 hatch. Now he's switching his plans. He's going to realize, okay, probes here, I can't get it done. Throws on a 12 pool. A little bit awkward of a build in this matchup. You don't really want to go 12 pool.
Yeah, so nice scouting from Dewalt, and that probably is going to let him just go instantly 12 Nexus, get away with a very greedy opener. Now, meanwhile, 2 drones have been sent out to make sure that this hatch gets done now, gets placed. Now, it looks like Hawk is going to take the 3rd base as his first hatchery. It's not a huge deal, but something to keep in mind. Now, Dewalt, of course, with the Nexus, can he get away with a gateway follow-up, or does this... Oh, actually got the Nat down! Oh, and Squall, thank you for the massive tip, man.
That's actually a pretty big deal. You don't want to take your 3rd because eventually, once you get once per patch in your main, you start mainering a little bit, and having to send them to your 3rd, that's a lot farther away, hurts your early game eco. But I mean, Dewalt, this is why you don't ever see 12 pool as an opener, only as a reaction to getting scouted. Dewalt is able to go Nexus first, and there's no way for Hawk to punish this. So just an advantage here in the early game for Dewalt. Going gate first, really risky. You only see that against hatch first. And here we go, Hawk with a 246 gas right before a 3rd hatch.
Yeah, pretty normal gas timing. It's not going to be anything crazy like 5 or 6 hatch before gas, which we've seen in previous BSLs. A couple lings were produced. They acted like they were going to move across the map, but actually turn around and are going to chase this probe. Dewalt did not cancel his cannon, though. He is just playing safe here, making sure that nothing sneaky gets sent out that he didn't catch. And he's just going to go for the standard forward, followed up by Gateway Expand. Now, third hatch is down already for Hawk. Now, this looks like it's going to be a lair opener. Yesterday we saw Zeke what looked like open with a lair opener, but I think he caught the probe and switched into Hydra play. Do you still think we're going to see lair? Or...
Yeah, there's the lair. And one of the benefits of Dewalt opener, the lair timing is decent, but the core timing is actually a little bit faster because Dewalt didn't make a second pylon. The Nexus gave him enough supply, so he just made the cybernetics core off it. And here we have the probe still alive, which is actually very important. You want to keep this alive at least till you see link speed. Even if you see the lair, if you leave the main, Zerg can cancel it and then go straight into hydrogen. So you gotta keep that alive.
Well, I just saw Hawk spend 100 gas, and Ling upgrade is decently fast, but not exactly the fastest upgrade in the game. So it's gonna be about a minute or so before that kicks in. So probe's gonna get off a complete scout upwards of the 5-minute mark. Stargate already started. It'll probably be close to done before that Spire even gets started, I think. So Overlords, they got to be careful. There's already one outside of Dewalt's base, so I'm thinking that that's probably going to get sniped down pretty quickly.
Yeah, and we see how fast this core was. Like the Stargate, the lair just finished, and the Stargate's almost done. And we have the Dewalt going for +1 ground, no +1 air quite yet. Hawk making a ton of links. It's normal to have around 8 links this time. And Hawk, in response, he realizes he's behind on tech. He's just going to defend the Coursers with Hydras, not even going to go into a Spire. And this is perfectly viable. You just go Hydras, make a couple, and add hatcheries as you can. And that looks like it's going to be Hawk's strategy. We have the first Zealot heading towards the third. Where are Hawk's links? Looks like they're streaming over there now, and you shouldn't lose any drones here.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to lose much here at all. There's just an overwhelming amount of lings. You can see that speed is kicked in. He even catches the Zealot before it can get into the sweet spot. Now, what I noticed from DeWalt's build is the nat gas was pretty darn fast. So I'm wondering what that means. His Citadel's almost done, actually. So he's, I'm guessing, going to go into the very fast Templar Archive. And then I guess I'm just waiting to see, is it like DT? Is it going to be banking up Templars or potentially even double Stargate? We've seen that a couple times lately, not just in BSL, but also in ASL. What are we looking here from Protoss' perspective?
Well, I thought this would be a fast DT, maybe like a 640 DT hitting the base of the Zerg, but no, just seems like he's adding gateways. He's going to get speed, and Hawk, actually, does he have a 5th hatchery? I didn't see. And he actually only has 1 on gas to wall. Okay, there's the 5th hatchery. I was a little bit concerned there, but just gonna drone up now. He makes only a few Hydras to defend the Corsair, and Dewalt sees it, sees no Spire, just doesn't make any Sayers, additional Sayers, and no +1, so responding accordingly to his scouting. And there's the archives now, but this could have been faster, but he actually prioritized getting additional gateways.
Yes, and as Zero was pointing out at the natural, there's only 1 on gas. So this might have been a mind game where the Overlord might have seen the gas, he showed it, and then actually didn't want to efficiently mine it because he wanted to ramp into that gateway production that we've already seen. 4 gates completed at 7 minutes. I mean, that's exceptionally fast. He's already got 5 Zealots, +1 is going to kick in, and the normal 7 Zealot move out might all of a sudden be upwards of like 9 or 10, and this could catch Hawk a little bit off guard. But I see he's already building Hydras. I don't see any Sunkens anywhere, but there's only 5 Zealots moving out.
Yeah, so this is only to force Hawk into Hydras. He's not really going to get anything done. One of the benefits of Hawk's build is he gets Hydras earlier. Here we have only 2 Sayers, not really going to kill any Overlords. The Zealots not willing to commit, just trading off the lings here. He actually gets an Overlord. Zealots on top of Hydras. Hydras from the 3rd coming in now to support. This is a lot of damage, surprisingly, for such a low number of Zealots. Looks like they are going to get cleaned up. One of the Sayers as well. But, I mean, that's a pretty good trade for the Dewalt, I would say. Only 5 Zealots.
Yeah, for 5 Zealots to deal that much damage is, I mean, they definitely got their value. Now, 1 is going to branch off into this 3rd mineral line. Or maybe, okay, yeah, a couple more are going to be there. And I didn't see any Hydras. Maybe they're under that Overlord. But Dewalt, he's done good damage with his initial Zealot pressure. Okay, now he's got to run. That's a lot of Hydras. And there's the 6th hatch from Hawk coming out. There's that sneaky DT. Is there any exposed base? Looks like the answer is no. But I'm feeling like, is Hawk's drone count a little low? Like, I see a lot of idle larva that he can't use. He doesn't even have the money.
So I think a little bit awkward situation here for Hawk. He defended perfectly, but he's not able to drone in the moment he wants to drone. I think that's a Spire going down in the main, which Dewalt just scouted. So he's gonna predict now the Muta switch, and you can see he's adding additional stairs. Hawk could probably even take his 4th base now, his 7th hatch if he wanted. It looks like he maybe he's gonna commit to a larger mid-game army with Hydralisk and Mutalisk.
I think Hawk's in trouble because Dewalt has already ramped up into 8 gate, and it seems like he's starting to cut probes. I always talk about cutting probes around the 7-minute mark. Protoss versus Zerg. Nice pick off onto that drone. And meanwhile, there's a huge Zealot attack into the 3rd base, and there's definitely not enough Hydras to defend this. He may even be able to pick off the Evolution Chamber or potentially the hatchery. He's focusing the hatchery with his BP. Okay, looks like he may just fight these Hydras head on. Instead, he kills a couple. Now he's going to run away, but he at least forces a nice drone pull there.
Okay, so this is a lot of damage from Dewalt. You can see he's not really killing drones, but he's pulling, forcing Hawk to react. He denied the 4th, he forced the drones away from the 3rd, and now he's going to prepare for the Mutalisk, which is, I mean, he scouted Hawk going for the switch. And Hawk, in the meantime, he's going to get something done with this Mutalisk. He's going to have map control, but eventually, I think Dewalt just starts slowly outscaling him. Although he will be able to take a 4th here, and these Zealots are being killed. We do see the first Mutalisk pop.
Yeah, and these 4 Zealots, they see it, so he knows exactly what's going on. The Mutas aren't like moving across the map instantly, so that's going to give Dewalt time to get up cannons, get up more stairs, and everything. Well, Hawk, he's not multitasking very well. I mean, he's letting 4 Zealots distract him. I don't even know if he has noticed that he's not using his Mutas. Like, there's no reaction from any of them. They're just sitting right there. And Dewalt behind this, as I've stated, he's on like 8 gate, man. Like, he's got everything going for him. In this 4th base, I don't know if Hawk will actually be able to hold it, but look at the supply. It's 105 to 102. So somehow Hawk is macroing really, really well.
Mutas are out. It doesn't seem like he went for a huge investment on them. Only 8 I saw. You really want 10, I think, or 11. And we have a number of Corsairs here for Dewalt. It's only 7 Mutas. Dewalt is actually taking a 3rd here on the low ground. He kind of wants to be on the high ground, and the upgrades I actually think are actually pretty indicative of how this next fight's gonna go, because Dewalt has 1-1 already. I think +2 weapons is about to finish, and +1 just finished for Hawk maybe like a minute ago, so he's a little bit behind on upgrades. Here are the Mutalisk looking for high Templars. Looks like they find a vulnerable spot here in the natural. Probe kills here, not a huge deal when Protoss is taking their 3rd. They can quickly resaturate. You really want to go for those high Templars so that your Hydralisks become a lot more powerful. And looks like they're gonna loop around. Looks like that's a nice storm.
That's a great storm. That's another great storm onto the Mutalisk, and that Templar up there has full storm energy, and he hits a huge storm. What is that? It blankets like 9 Hydras, gets another blanket of storm onto the other group of Hydras, and supplies just plummeted for Hawk. Went down like 25 supply to 2 single storms. Also, all of the Mutas, I think, have been erased. This is an amazing engagement for Dewalt right there.
Yeah, I was about to say Dewalt's gonna get caught off guard here. He's using his storm Mutas Hydras on the high ground, but for just like a 3-second window where Hawk wasn't looking at his Hydras, Dewalt got off 2 massive storms, and I think he's in a pretty good position to defend here, although he is still fighting low ground to high ground.
Yeah, I don't know how this is going to work out for him, but for now, he's trading quite effectively. He's eliminated all the storm, all of the Zealots. All that's left are Dragoons, but still, there's a sizable amount of Hydras here. But I feel like the Goons should win this, especially with Zealot reinforcements. And now that the Zealots are here, the Hawk is going to have to turn around, or not. Actually, that's a huge swell of units coming through the right side. He may be able to set up a flank.
But you can look at the upgrades. +1 only. +2 should be done here for the Hydras. And we're looking at 2-1 Protoss. Well, again, it's just mostly Dragoons. Once the Zealots go down, the Dragoons do have to retreat. And it's going to come down to how quickly Hawk can reinforce this location, because all he needs to do is wait for +2, then his Hydras will be better. But again, the low ground to high ground is really what's affecting these Dragoons and why they're being so ineffective here.
Yeah, I saw DeWalt's screen move up there, and you can see why. He's got 2 Zealots up there denying this 4th base. And that's what I was wondering. Does Hawk even have the Lurker upgrade? The answer is yes. He's morphing them right now. DeWalt realizes he's got to move out. Otherwise, a Lurker contain with Hydra support on high ground, that's going to be almost impossible to break. And it looks like there's just an overwhelming amount of Hydras. Now that there's no Storm, he can easily take down this Gateway army. And what does DeWalt do now? He's going to have Lurkers right on his doorstep.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit awkward. That was perfect for Hockey. He's able to take control of his high ground, and he's able to defend his 4th base now. We do finally see some High Templars being mixed in. That's the only thing we hadn't seen. Just mostly Gateway units and Dragoons and Zealots. DeWalt trying to commit to kill that 4th base. He knows it's pretty weak, pretty low on HP. The Corsair scouting that there's no Hive, just going to be heavy investment into Hydra Lurker. So DeWalt should be a little bit patient here, realizing his upgrades will eventually outscale Hawk, but Hawk does have this commanding position on the high ground. That's a nice Storm, clipping a bunch of Hydralisks there. And it looks like the Zealots are going to be able to find a path, and they are going to be able to kill this 4th base.
Yeah, they do knock it down, but he's going to lose a lot of Zealots to that, and he's going to lose a lot of Zealots on the left side. However, those Hydras were not realizing that they were getting surrounded from a couple sides there, and took a somewhat decent engagement, but could have been a little bit better. Meanwhile, I see a shuttle has been built for DeWalt, and we're going to see some harassment coming in pretty soon. But for now, Hawk is looking like he's in a good position, even though he lost that 4th base. You can see he's rebuilding the hatchery, and he should have that coming up online pretty soon. Oh, the Hydras! Do they see the shuttle? Oh, he's gonna snipe it, just barely. Nicely done from Hawk.
Yeah, that was perfect, because any distraction away from this container is going to make it harder for Hawk to sustain it. Sniping that shuttle, it was probably 2 Zealots, a DT, and maybe High Templar. And it looks like we have Hawk coming in. He's gonna try to bait out some Storms. That's a whiff. That's a nice Storm there. That's another nice Storm, but there's just not a lot of units here for DeWalt. Looks like okay, that's a lot of Dragoons reinforcing, but look how many Lurkers and Hydras are coming in from the high ground.
Yeah, tons of Lurkers and Hydras coming in, like you said, and I think Hawk was not expecting to actually bust that, because he was a bit hesitant to reinforce, but now he's getting on top of the probe line. If the Lurkers can get into probe range like that right there, he may be able to eviscerate a lot of the econ from DeWalt, but it looks like just barely. DeWalt has too much stuff, and he's going to actually break out of this contain.
That was really close there for Hawk. Unfortunately, not able to reinforce. I see a lot of units here grouped up on the high ground, and he still doesn't have the 4th base. And DeWalt kept that 3rd alive, although he did lose a ton of probes in the process. Looks like the upgrades now are really gonna change how these fights start looking. We're looking at 3-2 Protoss. Zerg can't really get any more attack upgrades without a Hive. Only +2 Hydras, and we have another shuttle in the main. And I wonder if this is going to be just 4 Zealots or if it's going to have any DTs. Looks like 1 DT going in first. This is smart. The DT won't trigger anything for Hawk, and this is already 2 drone kills. 3, 4. This is a lot of damage. Hawk hasn't realized it yet.
Yeah, this is going to be the whole mineral line gone, I think. He has no idea, and this is going to probably put Hawk completely all in. You can see he's moving his units across the map, and all DeWalt has to do is hold this high ground with his overwhelming amount of units and Storm, and he is going to be looking pretty solid to take this game. However, that is a ton of Zerg units coming at him. A lot of Lurkers, a lot of Hydras. Those are freshly made Templars, and they do have 1 Storm available, but Hawk has to make something happen here with this attack now that he's lost almost his entire mineral line.
Yeah, that DT. I mean, you defend the drop, you don't expect the second one, and then it's the second shuttle with the DT being dropped. It's like Hawk's going in, Lurkers in the back, not really getting a lot of damage done. Looks like the Zealots are all getting eaten up, but again, look at the upgrades for Protoss. All Protoss has to do is not die here, and that's a huge Storm. And looks like even the main goes down, and Hawk just running out of steam here.
Yeah, just barely. DeWalt holds on to that Hydra Lurker, and you can see what happens afterwards. He steamrolls Hawk, gets out, gets that DT drop, and even snipes the hatchery in the main. So nicely done from DeWalt, but Hawk, he looked very strong. I actually thought he was going to bust DeWalt with that big attack he made.
Yeah, there were a couple of moments where it actually looked a little bit dubious for DeWalt. I thought that 3rd definitely, even if it doesn't go down, that was a lot of damage done to the economy. but unfortunately the drop was just like one DT did so much damage that game, and you really don't expect the second shuttle. You snipe the first one, you end up pretty confident that you've dealt with your harass, but the second shuttle and how the wall executed it, just dropping off the DT and leaving the zealots out of sight vision, was perfectly done.
Yeah, I think a lot of players would have just grouped everything up and sent it in, but Dewalt with that sneaky DT move, until it gets noticed, well, you might as well just hide those zealots. So perfectly done from Dewalt. And I'm gonna take a look at what we've been told the map is gonna be for our second game. Second game is going to be Good Night, and as we know, this is one of the most popular ladder maps. I'm aware that Revolver is Protoss versus Zerg favored, but how's this matchup on Good Night?
No, this is way better for Zerg. Just everything that's good about Revolver and Ascension somewhat is not applicable on Good Night. So definitely the map you want to go with. I'm pretty sure, I mean, you still have Aztec and Harper Ridge, which are way better for Zerg as well, but this is somewhere closer to the middle, but still in Zerg's favor. So a good map here for Hawk. And man, I mean, Hawk was so close there to winning game one with the Hydra Lurker. I think he should feel pretty good with how things went in that game, and
yeah, I agree.
Probably do something similar.
I agree. If you think about the early game, like the 5 Zealot attack did way more damage than we were anticipating. And then the attack at the third base forced drone pull for a very long time. So there's a lot of disrupted econ for Hawk, yet he was still killing it with the macro. So I think if that doesn't happen on a map like Good Night, or in any map really in general, that bust he put onto the third may have actually turned into a victory in a more even economic game. So I think Hawk, even though he's down 1-0, shouldn't be feeling too bad about his loss there.
Yeah, and you got to remember the opening was actually 12 pull versus Nexus first.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I forgot about that. And that's apparently not ideal if you're a Zerg player. So yeah, I think Hawk should be feeling okay about how that went. Now, you were talking about how HBR and Aztec are good maps for Zerg. We have to mention that Dewalt, he had first veto, and he insta-vetoed HBR. So that one's out of the map pool, and Vertebrae was vetoed from Hawk. So Aztec is still in the map pool. Oh, wait. Was it Vertebrae?
Yeah, Aztec.
Oh, no. Yeah, HBR and Wavelet were banned. So Vertebrae and Aztec are still in the map pool. So we are just waiting for the players to get ready so we can get into game 2. Hawk down 1-0, but looked pretty solid. Now, have you played any of the new maps, Vertebrae or Wavelet?
Wavelet, I have some experience on. It's a pretty good map. Not really sure why Hawk banned it in favor of Revolver. I guess you just get more practice on Revolver than you do Wavelet, so that makes sense. And Vertebrae, I have not played any games. I have seen it twice, but I'm not familiar with it as a player.
Yeah, I've actually only seen it one time, and that was the game of TT1 in the show match versus NA versus EU. So that is, we actually know the map pool. It's going to be Ascension, then Good Night, then Revolver, then Aztec, and Vertebrae. So fifth map, final map, is going to be Vertebrae, so we may actually see it come down to that. But yeah, we are, again, just waiting for the players, and there we go. They are ready now, so let's get into game 2, see if Hawk can even up the score to 1-1, or if Dewalt is going to inch closer to making it into the semifinals. All right, in the top right in the white, our Russian Protoss player, it's Dewalt.
And in the bottom left in the red, we have our red Zerg Hawk.
All right, so Good Night. What makes it okay for Zerg in comparison to Revolver? Because as a Terran looking at it, I mean, there is high ground everywhere. It's similar in that aspect to Ascension and Revolver, which also has a lot of high ground. But Revolver is clearly favored PvZ. So, like, what makes this okay for Zerg and not great for Zerg to be playing on Revolver?
Revolver, you basically just can't go Hydras in the early game. 3-hatch Hydra is not an option on that map. It's pretty easy for Protoss to both defend it and then put on pressure afterwards. And this map, one of the main features, I guess, is the third being a mineral only. And it's a pretty poor third. on top of that. So Protoss doesn't, like, when you think about Protoss building up their 2-base economy and they power up to 8 gateways and then they take a third, for that third to be so poor for the time Protoss normally takes, it really hurts the Protoss mid game and eventually leads to a pretty poor late game if you don't take a fourth really fast. So it's really limiting your options. Another thing is just how the map layout is. Like, that third is on the low ground. It's kind of awkwardly placed, but it gives, and the map is also very open, a lot of paths for Zergs to move around.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, we saw that yesterday with Zeke playing versus Bonnet. Zeke's movement of the Hydras and Lings all over the map was fantastic, and in the end just picked apart Bonnet with overwhelming amounts of macro. Now this time around we do not have Nexus first. Of course, Dewalt did not get off the first scout, so he's just going to go for the standard gateway opener. We saw 9 gate every single game from Bonnet. Did not catch whether this was a 9 gate or not, but I'm going to assume it was. And this time around, Hawk does get away with that 11 hatchery that he was trying to get away with on Ascension.
It's just a 12 hatchery, so even better for Hawk because they are cross spawns, and gateway expand against cross 12 hatchery is actually pretty bad for Protoss. Your Zealot gets her so late, it's not going to be able to get anything done. So Dewalt, I wonder if he's just going to go one Zealot into Nexus and not really go for the pressure, because you can't really commit. Like, by the time the Zealot gets here, the Lings will be about popping and will be a pretty easy defense for Hawk.
And there is that 245-ish gas again from Hawk, so everything looks, well, I mean, of course, you open with the 12 pool last game, but I'm going to say it looks pretty similar to last game because I'm expecting this to be lair opener again. Now, meanwhile, with the delayed pool, that means that the Zealot will get into the mineral line of the main, and he's going to be sharking around for some drone kills. He gets a nice pop on a couple of drones, and now he's got 2-on-1 versus those Lings, but that's a nice surround onto the drones. But the probe's dealing a lot of damage, but gets taken down. Look at that glitch out onto the Zealot, and this Zealot and probe definitely did not do enough damage. And now that he's lost the probe, oh man, he's in a bit of danger, especially playing on Good Night.
Yeah, I mean, you want to keep that probe alive because you need to see how many Zerglings the Zerg makes to see how greedy you can be with your opener. Because if Hawk were to mass Ling from that, just upon seeing the first Zealot, it would actually be very difficult, even cross-map, for DeWalt to hold. But here we go, Hawk just droning up. He instantly throws on a Hydra, which is nice. You kill that probe, you're basically flexible with your opener. You can do whatever you want. And I really like this from Hawk, just to instant Hydra, not even worried about the probe. He has a lot of Lings here. He doesn't really have scouting on DeWalt's front, which is really what you want. And I don't even think he knows where DeWalt is yet. Okay, he knows now. So,
well, I hope he puts a couple Lings on hold position on the ramp, because I'm sure these 8 Lings will take down this probe. But if the probe gets lucky and somehow slips by, it would be a heartbreaker to see him get in there and actually scout exactly what's going on. Now we see a couple more drones have been produced, but this seems like a lot of Lings for Hawk to have at this point. So his econ is not that great right now. I wonder how many drones he's going to be building before starting that Hydra production. I know obviously 973, but there's other variations, right? Like 962 or something like that.
Yeah, 962 is the same. It's just a faster timing and it's more all in. But you have enough to produce nonstop off 3 hatcheries. It's the bare minimum number of drones that you need. And we have DeWalt actually, he played it pretty greedily. He only made the core, the cannon after the core. And that's basically because they're cross map. But DeWalt should be suspicious because there's no link speed and this Overlord is just camping here at the front. Those are 2 signs that this is going to be a 3-hatch Hydra. If the Lings are still slow and it's 530, something is up. It's either mass hatchery, which we don't really see anymore, or it's going to be that 3-hatch Hydra.
Yeah, and if it was mass hatchery, he would have saw hatcheries placed at the 3rd base. So this should definitely be a tell to him that something's going on. And for now, he's unaware because there have been no preemptive cannons. Now that could be another sign. Why are there 2 Overlords outside my base? If you think about the Ascension game, the first Overlord, as soon as he got the scout off, instantly ran away, and there was no further reinforcement of the Overlord. So something to keep in mind. But the Corsairs are just going to intercept these Hydras, and he's going to find out exactly what's going on in just a second.
Yeah, and we see Dewalt with nicely placed cannons. You want them far back enough that the Hydras without range can't really target them. So the Hydras will have to focus on the Gateway Forge and Pylon before really committing. Dewalt seeing the Hydra reinforcements, he's adding cannons as he sees the Hydra numbers grow. Now, you still want the Corsair alive to see if they eventually do switch into drones or just keep massing Hydras. This is a lot of cannons, already 6 for Dewalt. Front is going to be completely exposed, no way to defend this.
Yeah, and the Forge is already not spinning anymore, so that was a canceled upgrade. So he's forced out so many cannons, man. This is already a win for Hawk. I didn't get to see how many Hydras he's actually built. Looks like he's built 10, which is not a... Is he going to all in this? There's no way. There's 7 cannons here. He's still building them.
He's still making Hydralisk. Now, he could just not attack here, right? But he's definitely gonna commit. You see the Link movement coming in, and here comes the Link's gonna sacrifice him to the cannon fire, but that's just too many cannons here. The Zealots are at the front buffering for the cannons. Hydras can't get on top of them. So far, nice defense from DeWalt. I would expect Hawk to change strategies here and just drone up, because he saw the number of cannons. He knows DeWalt is prepared. The Stairs see everything, and there we do see finally the 4th hatch.
We do also see Hawk is starting to put down some more macro hatches, so he's going to start ramping up his production and ramping up his eco. But this Hydra attack, yeah, he canceled +1, but he built so many Hydras. I'm not sure if this was a success. However, he did force out like 10 cannons, because DeWalt has built upwards of 9, upwards of 8, I mean, even though he lost 2 in the beginning. So a lot of damage done, but still not too sure who came out the victor here. Meanwhile, DeWalt, you can see big blocks being placed in his main. That's a lot of gates, actually. So this is like 4 or 5 gate, I think he just put down.
Yeah, 6 gateways even, and he took off gas so you can get more minerals incoming to add those cannons. He actually canceled with cannon, which is nice scouting from him. And we see Hawk already up to 5 hatcheries. There's a layer, no second gas quite yet. You really delay the second gas when you go 3 hatch Hydra as you build up your economy. And I mean, the fall from DeWalt here is just pretty standard. Despite all the aggression in the early game, we're still going to see Zealot High Templar eventually get out on the map. We have the Corsair still scouting, still being annoying. Haven't really gotten any overlords with Hydralisks in hold position under them.
A little bit of a misstep there. That Hydra ate a ton of photons, and he's going to be taken down. That triggered, actually, DeWalt to build a couple more cannons. I guess he feels like, okay, was that Hydra intending to bust? So in the end, maybe that Hydra was worth its life, forcing out 2 more cannons. Whoa, 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 what are we doing? He bleeds off another couple of Hydras. I don't know how those got triggered into the cannons, but they end up dying too. Hawk is continuing to build Hydras, man. Does he have the econ to support this? It looks like it's decent.
It's a little bit barely the minimum. He sees a 6 hatch now, but if you really looked at the drone, it's just barely 1 per patch. The nat gas just now got taken. He's gonna go into upgrades now, and he does have lair tech, but we see DeWalt actually double forging, so this is a nice follow-up. When you lose the +1, you just double forge and you catch up that way. And DeWalt actually canceled those additional cannons he was making, so I mean, DeWalt, I think he's in a good position. Hawk only has 2 at his nat gas. That's a bit of an oversight, especially with your 3rd being a mineral only.
Yeah, I really like DeWalt's position right now. Even though he lost his upgrade, I feel like these 6 gates are so fast, and he's got so many Zealots right now that he's just gonna maybe end up overwhelming Hawk right here. Yeah, Hawk finally realizes that, hey, maybe I've overstayed, and he's gonna turn around. Now this 4th base feels ambitious for Hawk at bottom middle, but I know there's a ramp there, and I know you can morph lurker eggs on the ramp, so maybe he can get away with it. There's also a lot of high ground advantage on good nights, so we'll see if he can actually get that up and running. Corsair is going to scout it instantly, and there are those lurkers that I was talking about. So now DeWalt, I don't know if he'll be able to get through this, because we haven't seen any goons yet.
I did see he was researching goon range, but here we go. Zealot High Templar move out just before goons. This can be a little bit risky. If Hydralisks are out on the map, they get behind your Zealots and snipe the High Templar, so it can be risky. But Hawk doesn't really have scouting information to see us coming, and doesn't have Overlord speed quite yet. He does already have Lurker, which is just basically the counter to this kind of push. And I don't think we'll see any overlords in sight. It's not a lot of lurkers though, but I mean, just a handful is enough unless they all get stormed, of course.
Yep, first 2 lurkers go down, but we know there are more lurkers behind it. Even if it's just 1 or 2, I mean, this is going to force Protoss back. He doesn't have endless storms, and he may actually catch these Templars. All of the Templars are going to fall. There's only 1 left, and that means that there's only Zealots, and now Dewalt's going to have to run, and this is not the comp you want versus Hydra lurkers, just pure Zealots. I didn't see a DT sneak out anywhere, so there was no like backstab happening during that entire attack. We don't see a Nexus being put down. We don't see the Dragoon flood that I was expecting to come out. Instead, he just has built a couple more gateways, puts him at 8, but he's only got like 25 Zealots and like 2 storms. Like, that's his entire army right now.
Okay, so this is actually a little bit scary for Hawk. He's out of position, doesn't have a lot of lurkers yet. He's morphing them now, and Dewalt is moving in. He's only gonna have a couple storms, but this is so many Zealots. If he can get on top of the Hydras and just kill the lurkers as they come in, this could be good for Dewalt. The Observer is key, can't lose the Observer. Looks like the 2 lurkers unburrow. A couple more just finished morphing. This isn't a ton of storms, but that's so many Zealots. They eat up all the Hydras. They are +1 Zealots with +1 armor as well. Looks like Dewalt a little bit indecisive. He's gonna go into the main.
Yeah, I was hoping he would go into the main and not fight those lurkers, and he has bled off 3 into the natural, 4 into the main, and he exploited that weakness that you were talking about with Hawk being a little bit overextended, and now these Zealots are wreaking havoc. He hasn't killed that many drones, but he's forced a lot of lost mining time. Zealots in the main still also not getting a lot of kills, but you can see the entire drone pull to the natural. But remember, Hawk still has a 4th base. You can see supplies. They're fine for Hawk. He's okay with this trade, but this does buy time for Dewalt to get his 3rd base up at mid-right. It also allows him time to start scaling into those goons. Overall, this was a decent trade for Dewalt.
Yeah, you see, I mean, if this was a little bit earlier, this would have done a lot more damage. Hawk is kind of prepared, but you see he's getting pulled apart. He doesn't really defend all locations at once. Zealots in the main at the natural and now at the 4th base. They're gonna kill all the drones there. Hydraless, you can see them moving from base to base, but not really killing the Zealots. Finally gonna kill these Zealots here at the 4th base, but this just allowed Dewalt a lot of time to build up his Dragoon count, get a 3rd even, and he actually got the 3rd on the high ground with the gas. So this is looking perfect for Dewalt. I will say Hawk had a pretty fast 4th, and he was droning already, but the damage done negated any economic gain that the Hawk could have had there.
Yeah, those 4 Zealots in the main did way more damage than I was anticipating. Now, what I always look for is how does the player that just got harassed, how do they re-split up their workers? Like you can see at the 4th base, there's no drones. So we see 4 have been transferred there, but obviously that's a little bit undersaturated for now. In the main, not mining gas for Hawk, and you can see he's extremely low on gas. Look at him, only at 29 gas right now, so he really needs to fix that, because otherwise he's not going to be able to pump out those crucial Hydras, and you can see he wants to because he's floating so many resources right now, and now Hawk is going to start getting onto the offensive, but 2-1 is kicked in, and now the goons are already out and in position. That's another great storm.
Right. Dragoon, High Templar, going to be perfect to combat this army, and you can see Hawk, I don't really know why he's committing. He really needed to stabilize his economy, manage his drones better before engaging in some kind of fight like this, because his gas is really, really low. He only now took his 3rd gas. His main wasn't mining gas, and you really need 3, if not 4 gas to go for this big Hydra lurker mid game.
Yeah, we can see that +2 has kicked in for Zerg also, so the upgrades are pretty good for both players. I think a probe is going to the mineral only, mineral only, so he's going to start posturing for a 4th base, and we already know Dewalt has a ton of gateways. Oh, okay, that's an observer. I thought there was a DT that got into the main somehow. But for now, it looks like players are going to be content with just holding their position for now and just macroing up.
You can see Hawk has the Queen's Nest, but he doesn't want to invest in Hive because that eats a lot of gas, and you really need units here to defend the big Protoss push. He does have the 4th base nicely saturated. Still only 7 hatcheries, not a crazy number like 9 or 10. He does have a counter at the mineral only here. This is nice, but he doesn't have a ton of units here defending this small lurker field. I wonder, okay, Dewalt is actually going to pull back. He's going to try to establish that 4th base. More Hydras coming in. Somewhat of a flank here, but this isn't a huge commitment from Hawk. whiff of a storm there, and Dewalt forced to retreat.
Yeah, nice small backstab from Hawk to deny that fourth base a little bit longer. And then he holds off that attack from Dewalt. So everything looking pretty fine for Zerg in particular. Now, I've noticed for a couple minutes that there's
Oh
no...
my god, that gas.
Yeah, it's just 2 on gas, man. So he does need to fix that. And, okay, there it is. There's the hive coming up. So Hawk is scaling into late game, but with the lack of gas, that's really going to hurt him. Another big engagement. That's a nice pickoff. Catches a Templar for free and a Goon.
Yeah, but the upgrades on these ults, these are actually already +2 armor with +2 weapons, and it's only +2 weapons for the Hydralisk. So if you think about mixing in Lings with these extra minerals, they will be entirely useless. You really only can make Hydras and Lurkers, and if you're going Hive and you're missing Workers on gas, it's really gonna hurt your production. You can see Hawk barely able to sustain making pure Hydralisk, can't even mix in a ton of Lurkers.
Yeah, and I have a feeling he's not going to be able to fix that now. I like this Hydra attack. He ends up not catching Templar reinforcements, but the idea was great. And now you can see he is just running for his life. Now there's the DT that I was waiting to see, and uh-oh, it looks like that one's just going to bleed off. So a little bit of a misstep there. But with Dewalt now, I see he's going to put down his 4th Nexus again. And this time around, the Hydras, well, they were a little bit too far forward. But you can see Hawk is moving again across the map, maybe setting up... No, I thought those were maybe some Lurkers, but just again, another small Hydra attack.
So Hawk, he's accomplished one thing, which is basically buy himself time to get Hive. But again, the upgrades, if he ever switches into Lings, they're just not going to do anything. The Dragoons already have +2. He eventually will be able to just push through. Again, it's only Hydralisk. The Lurker number is very low with this, the amount of gas Hawk has.
Looks like Hawk is... Oh, I was going to say maybe he's bled off too many units, but he's got army in the back and supplies are 120 to 90, which is still okay. But if Dewalt gets onto this high ground, this is going to be very hard to engage. There's also no Lurkers. There's no Sunken on the 4th base. Uh-oh, is Hawk in trouble?
Yeah, this is Goon, High Templar. The Goons have 2 storms, 3 storms between the High Templar have 3 storms between them. Hawk coming in with a small flank, but not really enough. That's a nice storm. He still has 2 more. Another nice storm there. You can see the Dragoons on the high ground just not dying.
Yeah, and this kind of what happens sometimes in Good Night. You get into that high ground 6th position right there, and Storm just blanketing all the Hydras. You're attacking uphill. And this is going to be an amazing trade for Dewalt. I think this might actually end the game. Supplies are being doubled for our Protoss player now. He's at 120 to 50, and he's going to break Hawk right here. And this is going to put our North American player down 2-0.
You can see the Dragoons have already 3 weapons, 2 armor, and even a shield upgrade, and the Hydra is just not keeping up and just able to punch through this mostly Hydra army. And there's a GG from Hawk.
Yep, nicely done from Dewalt there. He held off the Hydra pressure. I liked his counterattack with the Zealots. I was a little bit worried with his comp being 95% Zealots. But that small run by into the natural and the main, oh my gosh, that did crippling amounts of damage. And that's kind of where it all just started to fall apart for Hawk.
Yeah, he created chaos with the Zealots, and he was able to find a window to hit the 4th while the Hydras were occupied in the main. And then instead of dealing with that, like you're just moving units to defend locations, he didn't realize he hadn't actually cleaned up the main, and the Zealots even got more damage done there.
Yeah, so unfortunately for the NA fans, Hawk is 1 game away from just being gone from the round of 8. But before we get into Game 3, I think we're going to go into a break, and you're going to see some RCG cheerfuls like you saw yesterday. So make sure you vote on them, and we'll be back in a couple minutes. We're back, guys, and we're going to be getting into game 3 momentarily. We just saw Hawk attempt to bust, ended up backfiring, and then Dewalt just an overwhelming amount of units, gets onto the high ground, and seals the deal. Now we're going to be going into game 3, and let me take another look at what the map is going to be. We know that Aztec is going to be the 4th map, and then Vertebrae is going to be the final map, and that means Revolver is going to be our 3rd map, and you're loving this map for PvZ. So I think we may see a 3-0 here unless Hawk has something special planned.
It's going to be very difficult. This is one of the best PvZ maps basically ever. Everything about it makes it good for pros. You have extra mineral patches in your main and nat. Every expansion is a gas base. The nat is actually pretty difficult to bust with Hydralisk. It's just awkward. There's not a lot of surface area. Hydras can't get a good concave. So that really limits Zerg's options in the early game. And the fact there's so much gas, a late game on this map, you're going to see Protoss with basically all the splash units.
Yeah, and yesterday we saw Bonif, even though he was super dead on Wavelet in particular, he had insane amounts of kills with his AoE units, in particular the Reaver and Archon. Like, they had devastating amounts of damage. So yeah, we may get to see that super comp that you're talking about on Revolver. Do you think, like, okay, PvZ obviously a nightmare on Revolver. Like, what's a good opener that Hawk can get himself into a good position on this map? But before we get into that, let's just get into our game. Game 3's ready. This is the last life for Hawk. He has to win here, otherwise he's out of it. All right, in the bottom left, one game away from making it into the final 4 again. It is Dewalt.
And in the bottom right, we have the Blue Zerg Hawk horizontal spawns on Revolver. And I want to add, this is already a little bit unfortunate for Zerg because you can't take your natural 3rd, or you really don't want to take it in these spawns.
Well, we do have horizontal spawns. Like, I realize the natural is hard to bust on Revolver, but is this a map where I'm just spitballing here? Is drops a potential opener for Hawk here? Like, could that be a game-winning move? If Revolver's so difficult to play, could he go for like a Hail Mary drop and try and take a victory like that?
It's a little bit risky because it's like the drop path isn't in the way of the 3rd, so it's going to be hard for Dewalt to not see it. It's going to have to be an earlier drop maybe to get anything done, but you can't really drop in ZVP unless Protoss decides to move out. Here we have Hawk. What is this? This drone going on? Is this a 9 hatch?
9 hatch. Yeah, yes, we saw this yesterday. Zeke went for 9 hatch overpool. So I guess he's anticipating some early Zealot pressure from Dewalt, and he wants to just take it down instantly. But we see Dewalt
Nexus
not going to be going for it. Yeah, this looks like a Nexus first, unless he's going to go for Forge.
You could still go Forge with the 12 Forge, but this is looking like a Nexus first.
Yeah.
And now, is this going to be 9 hatch with over, or it's okay? It actually is with Overlord, so it's not going to be able to be punished at all. This is looking like an anti-gate opener. You basically get your second hatchery up, you get a lot of larva, and you're able to defend the Zealots. But the war actually going for Nexus first, and this is actually not 11 Nexus, which is normal. This is Nexus with additional probes being made. He doesn't, like, he's still making probes.
Yeah, so he's going to have to build an additional pylon because this Nexus is not going to be in time for him to get away with that. And
oh my god, he's actually going gate after Nexus.
All right. Well, Seriosity's got his hands on his head. What are you thinking here? Like, is this too ambitious for Protoss? Like, can he get away with something like this?
Okay, so this is a read that Hawk is going hatch first. And it's true, it is hatch first, but it's actually 9 hatch, which is going to have a faster pool, basically faster everything, just worse economy. That being said, I still think Dewalt's going to get away with it because, like, Hawk didn't drone scout early enough. He's going to see it now, only after the pool is done. So he probably committed a certain number of larvae to drones and only made maybe 2 to 4 links. He sees it now, and I mean, you see this? and you don't see the Nexus, so you don't really know that it's Nexus first. You just assume it's Gate, then Nexus in a Forge. But we do see the links coming out. It's 4 links. Don't know if Dewalt realizes this is 9 hatch. He does see additional links being made, so he's probably gonna pop down a couple cannons right away. And here's the thing with Revolver, more links being made. Even this is a lot of links from Hawk, but Dewalt should be able to stop it. He already has a Zealot cannon on the way. All he has to do is hold this ramp, but it's gonna be tight. Second Zealot is in production, but this is really close. Dewalt can definitely die here. The Zealot is actually getting targeted by 3-4 links. I think Dewalt's dead. Dewalt's dead. Second Zealot, where is it? Where's the second? Okay, there's the second Zealot. Links will be slow. Cannon is about 90% done.
That is fine. Maybe those Lings got to get here in time, though, and they do, and that's a great surround onto the cannon. But there's still that Zealot alive. Couple of probes are still alive, too, and just barely for now.
Oh, and he made drones.
Yeah, he made drones. He didn't commit to the all-in, and I think you're right. He may have been able to actually bust him if he committed completely to this, but instead he drones behind this. I still think Hawks is in a good position because he killed a lot of probes, but that could have been a game ender right there if he had built more Lings.
Yeah, so yeah, maybe we overreacted, but the game was over if Hawk made Lings, but he made drones instead. That being said, he's still ahead, I would say, because he got, maybe it was like 5 probes.
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, actually, there's two probes in Dewalt's main that weren't mining, like they're misplaced. Looks like he's fixed them now, but yeah, the amount of probes he got was considerable. But he has built additional Lings to deal with these Zealots, so his drone count's not bad, and he does have that 3rd hatch at bottom middle. So actually, this is quite far forward, and this might punish him in the end.
Yeah, this could backfire later, but I think Hawk, like the lair started before the core. He has nice saturation. He has a lot of production already. If the Dewalt had, for example, just gone Nexus Forge, this would have done nothing. And he would have been in a very nice position economically. But now everything that he wanted to do is not going to work, because normally the reason you go Nexus first is to get fast tech on top of your good economy, but he's not going to be able to do that because he lost so many probes. And at least he's getting a full scout. Like, he sees the lair. Probably not going to be able to get in the main. He's getting a decent engagement. The link were split off there. Hawk having full probes here is a little bit awkward. Doesn't want to let the Zealot get in the main and see everything, but it is just standard lair play. That should be the Spire. The Spire pretty fast, I think, at the same time as the Stargate.
Yeah, decent time relative to the Spire. Now there's another Zealot into the 3rd base. Can he get a drone kill? Yeah, why did that drone come back and eat that jab from that Zealot? I don't know. He just wanted to die, I guess, man. He had a death wish. So a bit of miss micro there, and Dewalt gets a couple more drone kills. Supplies are still decent, though. I mean, actually, Hawk has supply lead right now, 35 to 32. But this high ground, you can see how advantageous it is for Protoss. I mean, you have minimal defense here, but Zerg can do nothing to it.
Yeah, the Hawk is just way ahead. The Zealot, he got 1 drone, but that was 4 Zealots worth of harassment, and that means his timing with the Speed Zealot is going to be a lot weaker. Hawk can drone pretty greedily here, can even go up to 6 hatches before even getting any Hydras. And we see Dewalt making the stairs, getting +1 ground and air, but everything's just going to be a little bit slow for Dewalt.
Yeah, Citadel is halfway done or so. Again, he's got Nat Gas. I guess decently fast. He does have 3 on it compared to the Ascension game, which he only had 1. That is Evolution Chamber. We got Macro Hatch at 3rd base, Macro Hatch at the Natural, and Hydrogen also coming out. So scaling into that 5 hatch Hydra comp that, you know, the Zergs know and love. Sarah gonna come out and get a scout off, but remember, Spire timing was pretty decent relative to the Stargate, so he's got to be careful not to get intercepted by a Scourge.
All right, so he's gonna commit to kill an Overlord, but I don't think he will be able to do it. And we actually see, is that a 6 hatch already being made by Hawk there? Yeah, so 6 hatches before any Hydras are produced. Very nice economic advantage here for Hawk. He's actually gonna lose 1 of these Overlords, which is not ideal. There's a, okay, immediately pops on. Not great for Dewalt, losing 1 for 1. You see the awkwardness of this third. The Zealots can get here really quickly. He does have enough links to buy himself some time before the Hydras are made. Still no Hydralists, and we're at 8 minutes. So, I mean, this is a little bit bold from Hawk.
Yeah, and this sunken timing was mistimed. That means that it's going to die. And these Lings, I think, are all going to die. Drones might be dying too. He's going to force out another sunken. He cancels it instantly. Where are the Hydras, man? They need to be here. These Zealots are wreaking havoc on this third base. It's just Lings. And actually, the Sim City is not working out for Hawk here. If the Zealots can get in between the hatchery and the mineral line, he's just having such an amazing engagement.
So you see the Lings following in, not trading effectively. Mutalisk actually from Hawk, so even getting that scouted. Still no Hydralisk. Really greedy from Hawk with that sunken timing. I mean, this would have done nothing if Hawk had taken 3 o'clock, but he just didn't know from the early game, didn't really scout. And now we have the Zealots with speed, and Mutalisks are actually surprisingly terrible against Zealots. Just takes forever for a Mutalisk to kill, and you just split off the Zealots like this, and now Hawk is gonna have to use his drone micro to defend from the Zealots. Already so much damage done from the Dewalt. We have Hydralisk being added, but this is an awkward timing for the Hydralisk.
And there's like a single Zealot at the third base also, so I mean, oh, it's a DT that he doesn't even notice, and he's wiping out the drone line. And supplies are starting to scale heavily in favor of Dewalt now. Remember, it was like 35 to 35 a minute ago. Now all of a sudden it's 65 to 48. He's also buying time to ramp up this Zerg count. And there's no, oh, he built more drones, and those are gonna die too.
And taking this third, this DT might even sneak into the main. Does Hawk see it? Taking this third has cost Hawk this game. Just the time it takes for Zealots to get there so much faster than would be the natural third block. Even more drones going down, and I mean, 11 kills on this DT, and Hawk just has nothing here. He's just falling apart.
Yeah, these Zealots, these 2 DTs have single-handedly given the game to Dewalt. The only saving grace, I'll say, for Hawk right now is Dewalt didn't scale his gateway count that fast. He's just now putting down his 3rd, 4th, 5th gateways. So there is time for Hawk to catch up, but he's eaten a huge supply block right now. He's blocked at 54. He's floating a ton of gas. I didn't see any Overlords in production. Oh, this is heartbreaking. There's still no Overlords being produced, man. Oh, just now they start.
Another DT going in. I think Hawk just psychologically, it did so much damage that Hawk took a second there to recover, because that was a massive supply block. I mean, he's still supply block. This is maybe more than a minute where he hasn't spent any of his 18 larvae. And again, that time you said he bought himself, he didn't really utilize it. Only now has he been able to spend his, I think it was like 1,600 minerals. And I mean, there's just no drones here at this third. And Dewalt is going up to 8 gateways. He does have double forge as well.
Yeah, and I don't even know if he's going to have enough time to get into lurkers to go into a defensive posture. I don't even know if he has the upgrade, because and goons are already out. Robo's already done, so observatory's, you know, coming if it's not already done. And Hawk, I think, is just going to have to try and hold simply with pure Hydras. And there's still a DT sharking around, so you know as soon as a fight happens, that's going to be running into the natural. So that's multiple things that Hawk has to keep track of. And I think once +2 kicks in, we may see Dewalt go for the killing blow, and there it is. +2 just kicked in, and here he comes.
Yeah, now the wall is going to be able to expand and push in the same path. This is not going to be able to open up any windows for Hawk to counter. We have a lot of Scourge here, but again, this is gas. It's not being going into lurkers. It's just going to be Hydras. That's a huge storm. And even though the wall is on the low ground here, the Hydras are clumping up a bit as they engage. Another nice storm from the wall. Hawk is panicking. He's going to have to add a lot of Hydras. Doesn't have a sunken here that would at least poke away slowly after Dragoons, which would buy him some more time. But he is holding firmly here on this high ground.
The DT's on the move. I think it's in the natural right now, but we have a huge fight obviously right now going down. The Hydras are doing a good job, and supplies have caught up. Hawk's at 85. I guess the DT did get taken down, so it doesn't get any damage done. So that's nice. Nice defense right there from Hawk, but still supplies 111 to 85. And as you mentioned, Protoss can just expand behind this, and they have high ground too. So if Zerg tries to come from that angle, well, they're going to be eating cannons, they're going to be eating storm. It's going to be such a hard engagement for them. But for now, Hawk, I guess he's kind of stabilized right now. I don't know exactly what his upgrades are. I think they're just +1, but it seems like he's in a decent, okay position compared to where he was a moment ago.
Yeah, so that was actually pretty good Hydralisk control from Hawk. Really got a good concave. Didn't commit. Just waited for Dewalt to be on the ramp instead of he himself going to the ramp. And the awkward here situation is it can't really flank because that would open himself up to just getting blasted at his third. So we do see Hawk patiently positioning units. He's gonna come in for the flank. He's gonna try. The Hydra's on the low ground are actually gonna get caught first, so not Hawk has to react with the other group of Hydralisks. You see Dewalt just patiently waiting. He doesn't really have to do anything. Scouting for 4th, which is nice. You see no 4th, you see Hydra Tech, you just basically as Protoss, you have to do nothing. You just sit, get your upgrades, get your 3rd base up, and then you go. And we see Hawk is really committed here with the 6 hatcheries.
Oh, another
nice storm. Oh my god. The Sair triggered the Hydralisk to attack, and Hawk just wasn't looking for a second, and there go 5-6 Hydralisks.
Yeah, and like even if he wants to go for a counterattack, the area to come up through the ramp at the natural, I mean, it's non-existent. You're just gonna funnel in like 2 at a time, and you just can't do that. And Protoss being on 3 base versus 3 base, I mean, they're feeling fantastic if that's the scenario. I love how Dewalt's constantly scouting for the 4th base because he knows it's 3 base versus 3 base. He's going to win this every time. This might be the attempted kill from Hawk right here. He's coming from the top side, but he's eating so many storms. His Hydras on the bottom side are just struggling to get through the bottom, and you can see why this is such a nightmare angle for our Zerg player.
Yeah, these High Templars are basically snipers, just holding their position. And once Hydrals come in, you can see they can't get a good surface area, and everything Hawk through here, maybe like 50 supply of Hydralisk, maybe killed like less than a control group of Protoss. And I mean, now the wall can just freely march towards the 3rd. There's nothing from Hawk. He basically, it looks like the wall's gonna take a different angle here. But again, Hawk can't really do anything. He has a large number of Hydras that can't really do anything, and the wall should be already on 2-2, if not 3-2 upgrades. It's like, no, yeah. Still 3-1, but still, Hawk is only on 2-0, and you can see the Hydras not being effective here. And I mean, this is just a feature of the map of how hard it is for Zerg to basically do anything aggressively.
This is it. Yep, there it is. There's the GG, and that means Dewalt, not only is he going to win our first series of today, he wins convincingly. It was a 3-0. First 2 games looked decent for Hawk, but Revolver, oh my gosh, I guess Dewalt did actually get away with murder there, and unfortunately not building those lings. I really do think he could have just ended it if he continually built them.
Yeah, if he made, I mean, that was 4 drones we saw at the net. That could have been 8 reinforcing wings. We're talking about 1 gateway production. Most of the probes at the natural actually died, and the cannon was only then morphing. So definitely could have just ended the game there. Despite that, he was still ahead, but you always go for the kill when you have the window, because later in the game, things happen that you can't control. And you can see how his victory or his advantage just dissipated, and the wall ended up winning again. And it was actually pretty easy once he got that 3rd up. You can see Hawk just had awkward decisions to make, and he couldn't really attack. You just can't attack. It's just not an option.
Yeah, it's so hard to come from those angles to try and attack into Protoss when they have so much AoE and they have high ground. So congratulations to Dewalt. He looked fantastic. Even though Hawk was eliminated, he had glimpses of greatness. His macro was really, really good across the board. He got supply blocked a couple times, but other than that, I mean, he recovered nicely. He was almost even in supply. What was it, like 100 to 85, despite how much damage he took in the last game? So definitely look forward to seeing him in next season and seeing him improve. This is again going to be him eliminated in the round of 8. But overall, had a nice showing in the BSL.